This is Lance, co-founder of BH Capital Enterprises, and I'm taking a short break from the non-cyclical uploads as I had a subscriber ask me to take a look at Nvidia. So this video is going to be about Nvidia, and I'm going to weigh in on what I think is going on, maybe provide some levels to watch and things of that nature. But if you're new here, please like, share, subscribe, engage. I love talking with you guys in the comment section about the markets and whatever else that interests you. So I like getting to know you guys just a little bit. But if you're returning, thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate your continued support. Make sure you guys go over to chartsandpriceaction.com. The link is in the description. And check out my latest offering, as well as my other offerings that I partnered with By the Hood University to complete. And these are courses on price action and some trading psychology, as well as some of my rules out of my trading Bible that I teach to a lot of my clients. So if you have any questions about any other offerings, feel free to let me know. But most everything is in the description box. But let's go ahead and talk about Nvidia. So you'll notice that this chart is already, marked up for the most part. And that's because Nvidia used to be one of my core stocks that I traded on, not necessarily on a regular basis, but I watched it on a regular basis and traded it periodically. But it got the boot off of my watch list a while ago. I think it was probably before COVID. Um, and so I don't look at it a lot these days. But I'm not going to come back and delete my markup. So probably going to have to just adjust these price levels right here in the video, because as you can see, I got 2020 high up at 589.07, which was the old level. So I'm going to have to move that down a bit. But yeah, so this is Nvidia's yearly chart. You can see it just consolidated for a very long time, and then finally started to break out back in 2016, and it's been on a tear ever since. And this year, 2022, as with most of the markets, especially the tech sector, has been selling off. So. Um, like I said, 2020's close was right around 130.55. So I'm actually gonna move this down. And we got historical demand down in this area. And then the 2020 high, or not the high, but 2020's high price was right there, right around there. And then 2020's closing price was right here. All right, so there we go with that. This level right here, I'm just gonna delete that because it was based on an old markup. And then I also want to make note of 2021 closing price. But so far, the price action for this year has rejected that. Even the high for the year has not gone far beyond 2020's or 2021's closing price. All right, so the yearly chart, I'm not sure if Nvidia has hit that 2020 high yet, or but it could possibly come down inside this 148, 130 area, and maybe even drop lower. But that's definitely an area where historically the price has been bought up. But like I said, we'll see. Because this could be turning into a multi-year sell-off type situation, especially considering the fact that the markets have been well, I won't just say the markets, but I'll say big tech or tech stocks specifically have been on a tear for the past several years. So it would make sense that that sell off taper off and maybe even pull back a little bit for a little while. But yeah, so right now, Nvidia is trading between 2021 close and 2020's high. Um, hasn't quite come down to 2021's open yet, but I really think that there's a strong possibility that Nvidia can move down inside that 148 or roughly 150 to 130 area um, before this is over with. Uh, Even more so if this turns into being worse than what's being forecasted, Nvidia could come back and retest this old breakout down here in the uh, below 100. I won't say that that's going to happen, or I won't say that that's going to happen this year or anything like that. But just some levels to watch for on this long-term chart. Um, Transitioning over to the monthly chart, you can see where the price is retesting that 2020 high and close zone. Um, and it consolidated for several months back in 2020 before it broke to new all-time highs. So what we're seeing right now is the price coming back to retest that old resistance, and we're either looking for it to confirm this area as support, or it's going to become resistance all over again. Now let me see where the 50 and the 200 are trading right on this one, and I'm just going to add the 20 to see, because it's really looking like a mean reversion here on this monthly chart for Nvidia, and I think that's what it is, to be honest. Saying that it's a mean reversion doesn't mean that it's not gonna move lower than what it is. That's just saying that in the case of a mean reversion, it has a potential to move there. So this is the 20 period moving average, and you can see that that was at 196. So it's already reverted to its mean, and it's below the mean at this point. So um, just this month, it has already kind of tested that 20 period moving average after closing below it during the month of April. So I'd be watching to see if it continues to reject this level, and if so, it'll likely move down. First off into that 150 to 130 area, and then maybe on lower, as I mentioned before. Um, Let me take these studies off. Uh, don't want to try to make something out of nothing here. Looks like pretty much a bearish channel here on the monthly chart. Mostly a price action is trading between these two trend lines. So of course I gotta make these trend lines distinct from my yearly levels, and like I mentioned in a video coming out later titled "The Trend Is Your Friend," um, this allows us to gauge the most recent sentiment on this stock. So since uh, when you're looking at the time period from December to now, sentiment is bearish on this stock. But even still, if you kind of scale out, it's still we still have that upward movement, overall. So we could actually determine, what the overall trend is on this time frame. So there's your longer term trend there, and then a shorter trend about right here. So you can see where the price is crossing below that area. Uh, so I would watch to see what the price does in this area as well. Whether it keeps pushing down against this lower trend line, or maybe we get some sort of bounce into the summertime, at which point, maybe the price moves up toward this upper trend line. But so far, the month of May is bearish. We're a little over halfway through the month right now, and of course, anything can happen. But really, what you also want to watch from a fundamental perspective, or at least what I'd be watching, because this isn't any type of investment advice or anything like that. I'm just kind of doing this for fun. Um, what you really want to watch for is um, what you really want to watch for is any sort of changes in the global markets that would be beneficial to this company. And I mean the overall narrative. I don't mean like short-term supply relief or anything like that. I'm talking like economic changes that could have ripples through the entire market that would benefit this company, as well as just an overall change in sentiment surrounding the global economy. So right now we don't have that. So just keep your eyes and ears open is what I'll be doing. But so far, that's pretty much the sentiment on this time frame. And I'm going to take a screenshot of this, and then I'm going to delete these trend lines here, these white ones. All right, so let's take a look at the weekly chart and see what's going on, because it looks like the price so far for the month of May has been kind of trading in a range for the most part. Let's see. You can see better here on the weekly chart where the price is respecting those monthly levels that I just talked about. And it looks like it may be starting to level out a little bit here on the weekly chart. But that doesn't mean that, sentiment is changing or anything like that. That doesn't mean that, this isn't still bearish in terms of the recent sentiment over the past 6 months or so. Doesn't mean that at all. It just means that, you know, on a from a micro perspective, it may be starting to level out. So you can see over the past couple of weeks, it's been pretty much trading between about mid 150s up to about 180s. So until the price moves outside of this range on the weekly time frame, that's what it'll be on this time frame. But let's see where it's trading in relation to those moving averages. So it's below the 50, but still above the 200 on the weekly chart as well. Earnings is coming up in a few days. So that's definitely something that's going to be a big deal. And I think that although it has sold off hard, what we've been seeing right now is companies doing worse than what the market analysts are expecting, or worse than what the markets are anticipating and forecasting for these companies. So that's going to be something big to look out for Nvidia. as far as how things are going in their uh, where they're headquartered, as well as how this recent news about cutting back on phone production, how that's going to impact this company, continued supply chain issues, just yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of things at play here that make it difficult to know where this price is going. But if they do worse than anticipated when it comes to earnings in a few days, no doubt in my mind that this goes below these 2020 levels. I think that would be a minimum that the price drops inside that 140, 148 to 130 area. And in that case, let's see. If it does, maybe it comes down as low as, probably uh, below, probably between like 120 and 115, somewhere in there. Um, I won't be shocked if it drops lower than that, but those are just some levels that I would watch heading into earnings to the downside. And that's 148 to 130, about 122 down to about 112 ish or so. But you can see historically, the markets have liked Nvidia inside that price range. But things are different now, so you have to keep that in mind. Let's take a quick look at the daily chart, and let's see what the implied volatility is looking like for this one as well. Um, Currently trading below its 200-day moving average and its 50-day moving average, and you got what I like to call the big death cross here. So the price has got several days and probably several weeks left before it can move back above um, these moving averages just from a mathematical perspective. Um, just ranging here on the daily as well. So for now you can only just play the range until earnings comes, and that's when it's either going to spike up or it's going to spike down. I pay attention to time and sales as well to see if there's any big money positioning, and if so, it'll likely be some spreads where maybe they're not directional or they're non-directional bets, and maybe they're even selling some volatility or buying some volatility depending on how it's looking. So let's do a quick volatility study on this one and see whether see the highness and the lowness of this implied volatility. So support for this one tends to be around about 35, mid 30s percentile. And then resistance tends to be right around about 60%. You can see where the implied volatility trades mostly between those levels, but going into earnings is when implied volatility typically increases quite a bit, and then you get that IV crush where the implied volatility drops significantly immediately after earnings. So let me take a quick look in my Thinkorswim app to check to see if Nvidia's implied volatility is high or low. It looks like it might be on the high side. Yeah, so it's pretty high right now. It's got some more upside potentially heading into earnings. Uh, but yeah, it's definitely starting to top out. Be careful if you're bullish on this, and I'm not sure why anyone would be bullish on this, especially given the fact that the implied volatility is already high, and the entire narrative surrounding the global markets as well. So um, that's pretty much all I have to say about Nvidia. If you guys have any questions, if you'd like for me to check out any other tickers, I'm happy to do it. But I appreciate the gentleman that asked me to take a look at this one. I hope you find some value out of this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.